Oh, yeah. Welcome out. This is the Remix Morning Show. Right here on Black Liberation Media. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. We came to bring you that boom bap breakfast. Get your plate, get your fork, get your knife, get your whatever you need to get you right. As we bring through the host with the most, let's start it off with no other than Erica Kane and Jackie Lukeman. Ladies.
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
Hey, started off on some ATL Dirty South music today. That's how we doing it.
It was energizing. It was. Is that y'all's breakfast music? That's
yes.
I see what's wrong now.
you know, get the trap jumping. That's what we do.
Yeah.
All right. Erica, you good?
Yeah, it seemed a little slow on my end, but I think it's catching up. Peace.
Yeah, you'll catch up. What's been going on, Jackie?
Oh boy, just this whole can we take adult can I please take adulthood back? Can I take it? Can I not?
Too much bills, waking up, having to figure out what you're gonna eat every day.
Oh my gosh, can I please just have hot dogs and what were they called? Tastios? Hot dogs and Tastios. Please just
Tastios. That's cereal?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Don't ask.
No, those was the off-brand Cheerios. I'll take.
Yes. Can I have my Tostios, my SpaghettiOs, my mac and cheese, and just please, because we're figuring out everything else every day. Oh,
you remember ravioli in a can? Oh, those were so good.
I keep passing it in the grocery store, like nope.
It used to be the shit. Oh my goodness, stuff we ate.
Yeah,
stuff we still eat. What's up, Erica?
Yeah, I'm not that girl.
Well, you ain't never messed with ravioli?
No, I have a thing about meat in the can, like Vienna sausages.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait up.
Yes,
you can don't come for the Vienna sausage,
corned beef, all of it. But
sardine.
I have family that attempts to dress it up. So it's not that it's still meat in a can. So
sardines.
And pork and beans.
Yes, and pork and beans.
I love me somebody. Now this is how you know when somebody is truly country, when a Black person is truly country, because then they start talking about their snacks, and if they grew up in the South, their snack life will reveal the level of their country. Because any Black person who says that they love some Vienna sausage, first of all, it's Vienna and not Vienna. I don't care what
Vienna sausage. What kind of proper bougie?
It's Vienna sausage.
It's so bougie.
It's Vienna sausage. That's the only Vienna we recognize. And saltine crackers, yo.
Oh,
that's country. I every once in a while, a couple of times a year, I just get this. Cannot pass them up in the grocery store. Spam.
Oh no.
I don't care. I don't understand the spam hate.
What is spam?
Is delicious.
It's leftover pig.
And So hot dogs and bologna, and
you just asked the definition what is spam, and I just said it's
waste not,
leftover.
want not, and
they said we ain't throwing nothing away. Put it in the pan.
And listen, I'm not above. I don't want to come off like I'm above certain things. I am West Indian. I eat fish eyes. I eat fish holes with the head on it. Yeah, like, well, it's good luck, ear doctor, and that's probably why things are the way they are.
You crazy? I don't believe in luck. I don't do luck.
Exactly why. First time Agnes took a whole fish for him with the head on, and that mug ate that head. I was like, but he was like, oh no, good luck in this house forever now, baby.
Yeah.
And
I've been known to eat it to the bone marrow,
because you're Trini to the bone.
Right. Exactly. So I'm not above, but also I'm like, body meat. Meat in a can.
Give me some of that potted meat.
I was not the Chef Boyardee girl.
Oh, you missed out on all that?
Well, also I didn't. My family makes pasta, and that sauce is not the same.
It's true. It's true. It is. It is gross.
That ravioli sauce, you like that? You like that Chef Boyardee sauce? That sauce?
The interesting thing is, it's not that you actually like it. It is so associated with my childhood that it's like this comfort thing. Because when you actually eat a can of it, when you're an adult, you're like, kids don't know shit. It's like, thank God we can't make decisions when we're children, because clearly eating this is a bad decision. But it's just so associated with good memories from my childhood that there's a nostalgia that's associated with food. So it's not like I like it. It's like, oh, back to the simple days when, you just poured it out of a can, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. What a juice is. And you know what, I was in New York the other day, and I was in the store.
Look at you.
And whatever. So we went to the store, and that's what I was nostalgic about. Gone are the days where you could put $1 on the counter and get a bag full of candy. Okay? All of them. The whole, you know how they be having them in the little boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get every candy for $1. Today, the blow pops is like 75 cents.
No.
Man, the dollar store ain't even a dollar store no more.
No. No, it's $1.75 store.
I don't know why they playing this.
Actually, it's $1.25. But soon it'll be $2. It'll be.
Yes, it will. So, all right. So, so we got a guest coming up a little later at 9:00. BAP is outside doing his thing as usual, I assume.
Outside.
Any updates?
Yes, on the website. On the YouTube. No, the recent migration webinar that we did is up on the YouTube. So go check that out. The Africa team released a really great statement. What's happening in the AES, naming AFRICOM, because I think that is missing from a lot of the conversation, specifically about Traore, that is leaving out the AES, but also leaving out AFRICOM, or kind of talking past who Langley represents. So please engage that statement. We'll probably talk some more about that this morning. So work is being produced, still outside.
Okay, I like it.
Yep.
I like it. All right.
We still got, one of the things that I really am excited about that BAP does is we still focus on issues that a lot of people have moved on from. But see, the way imperialism works, nobody moves on who are the victims of imperialism. So we still have an Afghanistan team that does updates on Afghanistan news. We still do work on Cuba. As you can see on our website, we are now highlighting issues in Ecuador, the fascist racist, white supremacist, settler colonial violence against Afro-Ecuadorian populations. And I really love how this work that we get involved in countries in the global South, countries that make up the demand for this zone of peace, we are not only exposing the ways that imperialism and US foreign policy impact the lives of people in countries that we don't even think about in horrible ways, like what happened in Ecuador with those 4 boys that the Ecuadorian military murdered, 4 Afro-Ecuadorian boys. And now the elections that have happened and the questions about the elections, we had election observers that we had Cloud come on talk about that. But the other thing we are exposing with this kind of work is we're showing people that we really are everywhere. Everywhere that we don't think about. Whenever we talk about we have to work on solidarity with the global South, and we've got a lot of Black folks who are like, why should we care about them? They don't care about us. They don't know nothing about us. They don't get involved in our fight. And then we get that down there on the ground, and then we're meeting with entire communities of Afro-descended people in countries where people are like, we don't have anything to do with them. So I'm very proud of the work that we're doing, not just because of my position in that, but because I don't see anybody else really doing this, making these kinds of connections on a grassroots, working class, poor peasant class kind of connection, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah,
all right, talk that shit.
So Jackie's point, though, we can probably do it at the end too. I'll send reminders because hopefully Monty will show up and we can send out some links. But it's not even just so much of the global work, which I think we have been sort of charged with, that we are talking about them and not us, where the argument made is that they are us and we are them, and because imperialism is a primary contradiction. So the DMV, the Mid-Atlantic region, we are hosting a webinar on May 22nd, the global occupation of the DMV in Africa, just to talk about just that, like what we're seeing in the AES, what we're seeing in Liberia, what we're seeing in Gabon, Chad, etc. What's happening in terms of the neocolonialism and the attempts for sovereignty is not different from the struggles that we're seeing here in particular ways. So we're going to be talking about that. And then you can go see Margaret Kimberly on the 10th at the People's Church, BAP NYC. We'll be talking about migration there. So talking about how this impacts, because I think one of the conversations I was having with some of the members yesterday as we were strategizing, preparing for an upcoming event as it pertains to migration, is that the conversation kind of lended itself to, okay, so what does that have to do with us here, without actually considering that the people who are immigrants also are residents of Baltimore or residents of New York City. They don't exist outside of that. So when we talk about what does it have to do with the people that live here, we should be considerate that immigrants actually do live here. And so that's, again, part of the issue in terms of how this is even discussed, because people see or continue, even in our struggles to, include these things in our liberation struggle, we continue to make this approach as we're talking about a them that exists in the ether, that doesn't have anything to do with what's happening here, when they are your neighbor, or they are your teacher, or they are your nurse, or they are your mailman, right? They exist in the neighborhood, or they're your coworker. Mm-hmm. And they are under the same, the same people who are training ICE are the same people who have access to the 1033 and who are propagating the cop cities that are expanding. So what do you think what do you think the $1 billion jail in Baltimore is going to be used to house? Mm-hmm. Just the Black folks that are from here? No, everybody going in there, because it's the $1 billion is an investment, and they're going to make sure they understand and see out their investment. Same how Rikers has now reopened the ICE office, right? So this is not a them and us conversation. So this is why we need to have more of these discussions, as we see online. People are kind of shooing PE But it is necessary so long as we continue to have these them and us conversations.
Oof, y'all are firing off on all cylinders. We ain't even get into the news yet. I love it.
We wake up like this.
I hear that. So let's center ourselves. Let's get grounded, and let's get ready for a great show as we do it right here on No Other Than a Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Remix on a remix. Welcome out, y'all, as we get into it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 1, 2. It's bigger than here. Here. It's bigger than here. Here. One thing about music, when it hit, you feel no pain. White folks say it controls your brain. I know better than that. That's game, and we ready for that. 2 soldiers head of the pack. Matter of fact, who got it? And where my army at? Rather attack and not react. Back to beats, it don't reflect on how many records get sold on sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Whether your projects put on hold in the real world. These just people with ideas. They just like me and you, with the smoke and cameras disappear again. The real world is bigger than all these fake records. Wait, Popo got the millions and my woman's disrespected. If you check 1, 2, my word of advice to you is just relax. Just do what you got to do. If that don't work, then kick the fact. If you a fighter, rider, bada, flame, igniter, crowd, exciter, or you wanna just get high, then just say it. But then if you a lie, pants on fire, wolf cry, agent with a Y, I'm gonna know it when I play it. It's bigger than here. It's bigger than.
All right, let me take you to a time and place. Let me take you back to 1994 with Aaliyah off that Age Ain't Nothing But a Number album. And the name of that song is At Your Best. You Are Love, mixed with a little bit of 2000. We talking about Dead Prez off that album Let's Get Free. The name of that song is It's Bigger Than Hip Hop. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare, and donate where? At blkliberationmedia.org. We are demonetized as a channel, and your support will very much help us continue on. All right, with that said, let's get back to our crew. You know how we do right here on the Remix Morning Show.
For there are times when I fall short of what I say. What I say, I'm all up.
All right.
That was some hoodoo right there.
That was some hoodoo.
That was some roots. That was beyond alchemy. How the hell did you come up with that mix? Those two, and they were perfect.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. That's all I gotta say. The vibrations hit me in the morning, and I'm just a vessel, Jackie. I'm just a vessel.
I'm not even.
I'm just a vessel. That's it. I like I seen you back there jamming too. Jackie was back there jamming, yo. I was like, damn.
I was like, wait a minute. What the
All right. Well, listen, that's what we talking about. Mental health break. Get y'all ready and centered and grounded. And it's time for some news and all that. So let me get up out of your way. Peace out.
Yes, ma'am. Well, why don't we slap that map, shall we? Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show. Thank you so much for continuing to hang out with us. I am Jackie Lukeman, joined by Erica Keynes, and I see that you have a link in the chat, and good, because I was really curious about what is going on in India and Pakistan are between them again. What is going on here, Erica?
Well, Modi, the right-wing Hindu nationalist leader of India, is now bombing Pakistan over escalation tensions over quote-unquote a terrorist attack in Kashmir. So I just want to just kind of preempt this with, I am probably going to go on a tangent because
right.
I have a lot to say, but I can start with the story itself. India launched missiles at neighbor and rival Pakistan on Wednesday, and I think that's a very interesting descriptor, dramatically escalating tensions between the nuclear powers 2 weeks after a terrorist attack in Indian administered Kashmir. Also very convenient choice of words, that killed 26 people, calling them an quote-unquote act of war. Pakistan said the strikes, which according to India, hit 9 locations across Pakistani province of Punjab, and in Pakistan administered Kashmir. Again, interesting choices. Killed 26 people and injured 46 others. Among the dead were 6 people killed at 2 mosques and 2 teenagers who were killed elsewhere, Pakistani officials said. One of those 6 was a child. India said the strikes hit only quote-unquote terror camps and no civilian or military targets. That is not true. It said it exercised considerable restraint in the target selection. They go on to say that our actions have been focused, measured, and non-escalatory in nature, the Indian Defense Ministry said in a statement. Several buildings were on fire after the strikes, which caused power outages in various locations. Videos posted on social media and verified by NBC News showed some of the injured were being taken to hospital in ambulances. In another video, a loud hissing sound could be heard before a blast hits a few feet away from a crowd of bicyclists.
Are they training grandmas with nice purses in the terror camps?
I don't know. Maybe maybe they're all taking lead from Ukraine and they have their Nazi grandmas outside. India blames Pakistan for the massacre last month of 26 civilians, mostly tourists, in the Indian part of Kashmir, a disputed Himalayan region that both India and Pakistan claim in its entirety. Pakistan, which India has long accused of supporting cross-border terrorism, denies involvement and has called for a neutral investigation into the April 22nd attack, the deadliest against civilians in almost 2 decades. So I can stop there. So there's been a long-standing, as the article is framing it, long-standing tensions, quote unquote, between India and Pakistan. And I remember I previously had an employer who was Pakistani, and I think someone had said, like, I think they had mistaken them for Indian, and I was like, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Not the workplace, child. We don't want to set up nothing at the
tensions in the workplace.
Right. People who don't. But again, I think that speaks again a bit to the conversation yesterday about how people do and don't understand the world outside of the U.S. Because there's a lot of stans. There's a whole lot of stans in the South Asia and Asian region because all these nations have been broken apart and created into other nations. But I think what there's a few things that need to be kind of noted, I think, even in the delivery. Kashmir is occupied.
Thank you.
And it has been occupied for, I think, 75 years. There are a plethora of similarities between Kashmir and Gaza. Notwithstanding the Hindu nationalism of it all, because Hindu nationalism, specifically under Modi, takes its cues from Zionism and Israel today. And this is... I
have a question, teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you really quickly explain the connection between Hindu nationalism and the bombing and that lady that everybody told us we had to vote for?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is exactly what I am looking for. Primarily because in 2020, I wrote an article about Black left apathy here in the U.S., is particularly after that vote in 2020. Black American apathy, more specifically, just in general. And I noted about not only the congratulatory statements from Benjamin Netanyahu at the time, but also from Narendra Modi. And he writes, heartiest congratulations, Kamala Harris. Your success is path-breaking and a matter of immense pride, not just for your chitties, but also for all Indian Americans. I am confident that the vibrant India-U.S. ties will get even stronger with your support and leadership. And spoiler, they did. But so there was no conversation around Modi at the time, the prevailing Hindu nationalism, which does have a lot to do with the conversation that I was having around the new leadership in Trinidad, because she's a Hindu nationalist as well, and the leadership in Guyana, they are Hindu nationalists. And the people, the Indians that so happen to be here that are favorable to MAGA politics are Hindu nationalists. We just got to keep that clear, because I think when we talk about immigrants, y'all, there's a class component that is being left out of these discussions that are very important, because people are not just doing things to do them. So I think that we really have to stress the class components of these things. And the other thing that I wanted to note about Hindu nationalism, because this morning I woke up to the news of Pakistan and India, and again, the way that Kashmir is being discussed, I feel could be a better discussion. But some months ago, I had noted, because there's the artist SZA, who, by the way, is on tour with Kendrick Lamar, National Sold Out Tour. And I'll get to that in a second. But she had posted a picture with one of the top yogis, internationally known, Sadhguru, I think it's pronounced, who's a Hindu nationalist, who has made public statements about the slaughter and death of Muslims under Hindu nationalism. But again, he is a very internationally known yogi. And SZA talked about taking her mom there and the experience of it. So to which people who understand who that man is and the role that he plays in Hindu nationalism, I'll spell it out, because I might have, it's SADHGURU. Thank you. Yes. So you can look up that man. But yes, so the issue again is the way that we see these celebrities kind of, one, maybe or maybe not have a clue about what's going on, but assist in the propagating of and normalization of a thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because the post itself was about the enlightenment and the change and the life-changing experience that she had through this man and his compound, which, by the way, works as some kind of, alleged Ponzi scheme kind of thing, because if that compound it's a lot of money coming in and out that compound, allegedly. Man. Shout out to Wendy Williams. You ain't gonna catch me. People are litigious these days. Okay, you see, I'm recorded from the room. I ain't got it like that. But I say that to say, like, there is no discussion about Hindu nationalism and the links of Hindu nationalism to Zionism specifically, because I do think that's important. And the more that we Chelsea Clover. Chelsea, somebody is naming. Yes, exactly. So yeah, I can give you some time to talk about it, but I do want to talk a bit more about the link to Zionism and
Yes, because I need you to, we need to get there, because the thing that's burning in my mind, Erica, is, there is this huge focus, and it seems like it always comes back around to this. There's this huge focus on anti-Blackness. And we keep arguing that, okay, that is a component of the capitalist exploitation and all, but that's not the primary contradiction. So when we are now connecting MAGA and Hindu nationalists in both parties, in this country, in political power, Hindu nationalist violence in India, and the connection to Zionism, take it away. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, even as it's seen and explained through Kashmir and Gaza, if we look at the occupation alongside the occupation, but really the ideological component, like Zionism, which sort of exploits Judaism, Hindu nationalism exploits the Hindu religion. Mm-hmm. The Hindu religion in and of itself is what it is, right? But like Judaism, there's a reactionary, white supremacist leaning political ideology that is deriving off the backs of a long-standing religious traditional belief, right? Which is which is Hinduism, mm-hmm. which is not Hindu nationalism. Hindu nationalism is where the caste system derives from. These are all aspects of colonialism. These are all aspects, you're right, of white supremacy. So like Zionism, some people themselves who created or who propagates this caste system themselves are not necessarily of India, which is a lot of the tension between Pakistan and India. Also, Hindu nationalism, as we're seeing with Zionism, is overtly aggressive to Muslims in the area, which is what we're seeing with Kashmir. Mm-hmm. The attacks are whether I mean, I want to be careful how I say it too, but the attacks are majority Muslim attacks. The policies and the laws are anti-Muslim laws. They are limiting the limitation of the Muslim population, and where they can and cannot be. And this is also in India, right? Not just Kashmir. Right. This is also in India. This is a struggle that's existed in India, but there's millions of people, and because of the caste system and the way that it's set up, what we would see in Bollywood Wives, for instance, I think that's a show on Netflix. Or how Hinduism is discussed, void of that aspect of the nationalism that is very prominent in particular spaces, especially when we look at the influencer celebrity spaces, reality TV. Because what is that Netflix show? I think it might be called Bollywood Wives.
Oh, I've not heard of it. Huh?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I don't.
The Bollywood industry, which I love. I love the Bollywood movies. I mean, Monsoon Wedding, great movies. But the prominent stars of the Bollywood industry are followers of this. So I do think it is, and there is a because this is how I found out about this. It was on that reality show with the Hindu wives. When I saw that show, there is a gala of some sort that happens for teens of means or whatever, that happens in I want to say it happens in Paris, either Paris or London. But it's like the teens, to do, like anybody who has any kind of money, any celebrity children, it's like their coming out ball. So they have like a specific debutante ball for
a celebrity debutante ball.
Because Forrest Whitaker's daughter was there, but also so were these people. So I'll circle back. But that also, like I said, I was going to.
Are you talking about the matchmaking show on Netflix?
No. It's a show about the wives of Bollywood stars. or the family members of the Bollywood stars.
I gotta find that.
My girl Elon knows. Me and Elon watch all the same things. So yeah, Seema's on it. What is the name of that show though?
Interesting.
Circle back.
And I want to point out the things that you were talking about the way Hindu nationalism, just like Zionism, co-ops existing faith traditions that have existed for tens of thousands of years before this nationalism question even existed. So this ideology is literally a white domination, a pan-European domination, settler colonial ideology that co-opted existing faith traditions and turned it into nationalism of this faith tradition that does not exist within the faith tradition itself. And what Erica is describing is how this was done with Hinduism. Zionism is what was done with Judaism. Christian nationalism is what was done with Christianity. That is what you are looking at. What you're looking at is the coalescing of, on its face, global fascism. But when you peel back the layers and ask the questions, well, what makes up fascism? What are the aspects of fascism and how this political power is expressing itself in different aspects of these societies? This is the one way, aside from the occupation, aside from the limiting the civil and human rights of marginalized groups of people that are not necessarily based on their race, but on a different definition or designation that makes them the quote unquote other from the dominant political group, right? So when we look at Christian nationalism in this country and on the continent through missionaries and all this kind of bullshit, what we're seeing is exactly the same thing. So when we're talking about the struggles of African people in this country against the domestic colonization and everything we suffer here that is exactly like everything colonized people around the world suffer, this is why we say this is not always anti-Blackness. Anti-Blackness is not always at the root of our struggles. There are other bigger, internationally connected contradictions that connect all colonized people, regardless of whether they are descended from the continent or, as in Pakistan, there. So this is why we make these arguments, because we are connecting the international dots. This is not just an isolated struggle we have here, because the people doing it are not isolating themselves in coordinating our oppression.
Yeah. Even Modi coming into office the whole campaign was an anti-Muslim campaign because the opposition happened to be Muslim. So that's how he has gotten into office in that way. But then also, even when we talk about what's happening currently with Gaza, it's been countless Hindu nationalist support for public support marches in India that are pro-Israel. Modi has made countless statements that we stand with Israel publicly. Yesterday, Israel makes a tweet that we stand with India. The expansion that we have talked about in terms of the sort of goals for Israel to expand into what was the Greater Syria, and we're watching that occur currently. But that is what Modi is looking at, which is why Kashmir is occupied, which is why there's a continuous border, and not in this border, it's like in the mountains, like knockout, drag out war really is happening with China and India for a long time. I think right now they have halted it. I think they have come to some sort of treaty at the moment, but they really out there scrapping on that borderline at the mountain about whose land is this. And that is also the tension with Pakistan that's existing, which is why Pakistan is taking some ownership of Kashmir while India takes the other, because it's like, where do we draw the line? And so India, through Hindu nationalism, has expansionist goals, and they're looking at Israel as a way to do it, as a blueprint. How is Israel doing things? So when we look at language like, oh, a terrorist attack, right? That's like, it's undefined. There's no true evidence of it. But if you have a dehumanized population already, and people who already see these folks as others, then why, of course, why wouldn't they? Because obviously they hate us for being Hindu. They don't want, right? So of course they would attack us, just like they hate us for being Jews. So of course they would attack us. And this is not about anybody's, the question of land, which has remained the question, right? For all of us, for all colonized people, is a question of land, which is why we talk about until Africa is free, we are not free. Because how do we become free here and Africa is still colonized?
Exactly.
You know? And so I think there's a lot of questions to be raised around what is happening in Asia itself, what is happening in India, how we understanding these things as it relates to what's happening here domestically. Like, who are the figures that are propagating these things? Who are the figures being set up in particular spaces? And what even is what are we having these discussions about? Because yoga in and of itself is not innately bad because Hindus practice it, because yoga does not belong to Hindus.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
And right along those lines, you know, when people are like, oh, religion is inherently oppressed. Well, first of all, that's a whole,
right.
But
different practices and iterations.
Right.
But the issue is the nationalism component.
Thank you.
Hindu nationalism, because Hinduism is what it is, right? And I'm not here to argue whether it's good or bad. I am not a Hindu. But Hindu nationalism is entirely something else.
Right.
And it is a problem, and the manifestation of that is now erupting with full support of the same figures that are in the Congo, that are in Sudan, that are in Haiti, that are in Gaza, that are in your backyard.
And they're not there because of your religion either. They're not, this is what we're trying. It is an excuse. It is a lie. The focusing on the religion of the group of people that they are bombing, which happens to be Muslims, which happens to be the agreed upon target by all of these pan-European settler colonists. The religion is merely the excuse they use, because it's the same thing with Christian nationalists in the US. I mean, the chapter I am working on for this book right now is exactly this: how Islamophobia became accepted among white Christians in this country, and to some degree among Black Christians. Why do we have this hatred for another Abrahamic religion? Well, when you look at the misinterpretation of some of the scriptures, yeah, it makes perfect sense. But when you also look at the politicization around the Muslim religion, where did it come from? It came out of 9/11, and it immediately went to the demonization of this group of people who were allegedly behind some terror attack. It really didn't have anything to do with religion. It had everything to do with, oh, now we have a reason to try out the new surveillance and the new repression and the new ways to control marginalized populations. And because we can frame these people as inherently violent and evil in a moral sense, we can get most of the population to go right along with it. That's not a religious thing. That is a power thing, right? And this is the point we're trying to make. People are not doing these things because these religions are whatever they are. These things are happening because of pan-European white supremacist settler colonial ideology and domination. That's why these things are happening.
Like, for instance, if it is that this is a question of land and expansion, right? And this is where the Muslims are, and this is the land you want, then yes, your issue is with Muslims, right? And then I would also argue, we could say this started from Iran, the Iranian Revolution, primarily because I will never forget, not without my daughter, Sally Fields will pay for her crimes because
that movie was trash.
of Iran and Muslims from that movie alone, right? That the child was stolen, she couldn't get her child back, and then the ways that they depicted Iran and the audience. We talked about the documentary on the WWE and that era. So there was a fascination. So by the time 9/11 came and happened, we were already set up to kind of hate Muslims anyway, or hate the Middle East, which is predominantly a Muslim occupied, a region. That's where they are. So we were kind of already walked into that. And that's what I'm saying. We could talk about religion kind of being the okie doke, but so is celebrity. So is pop culture. Because I'm naming SZA for a reason. Right now, the top selling tour is with a woman who is sympathetic to Hindu nationalism and a freaking Black Hebrew Israelite. And the other top tour is a woman who's pushing Americanism to her attendees, encouraging it. And these are the three top selling artists who just so happen to be African and happen to be African American. So what are we saying? And what the fuck are we doing? So we could talk about counterinsurgency. Religion is not the only aspect of counterinsurgency. We could talk about religion all damn day. But folks would talk about religion, and then they in the comment sections of Blue Ivy, right? Because they don't see that as something. Because this is something that they are fascinated by. This is something they are interested in. So that can't be counterinsurgency. But because they don't care about religion, that is the only thing that exists. And it's really about what are we doing, and what are we saying, and what are we propagating? Like, I was joking about the fan, but I was not joking about that fan. Whatever you push came. American propaganda, whatever you.
And this is the thing that is wild to me about that. I'm so glad you raised that particular issue with the fan and now. And I literally just saw these videos because I knew about the trail ride culture in the South and the big line dance parties in the middle of the damn night in the woods and shit. And so that's just a part of backwoods Black country life in some places. So I was kind of shocked, and I still am very shocked at how fast something like that was unnoticed, nobody paid attention to it, it was a big thing all on its own, it was a big kind of almost isolated cultural thing, all of a sudden becomes this symbol for, and then it's like, wait a minute, it's a symbol for what? It's not a symbol for actual Black culture. It's been co-opted. When you got Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris and leading Black Democratic whoever's with their fans, where them fans at? And they coming out with the fans.
Like, the boots on the ground.
Yeah, like, wait a minute. And that went, it went from, oh, wow, I didn't know we was getting, people saying, I didn't know we was getting down like that in the country, to in literal months, to Michelle Obama on, what was it, The View or one of those daytime talk shows with the fan. Like, come on, how is that not more of an indication of how captured we are by and everything in this society? Not just religion, but everything in this society is captured by this colonial mindset and indoctrination. How are we not angry at every aspect of it? But every time somebody brings up anything about religion, that's the only thing we want to talk about is how evil the religions are. but we never get to talk about how evil the entire system that all of this is captured in is, that transmogrifies everything into propaganda instead of culture and just a tradition. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, so I had this conversation yesterday, and just in terms of this is something that folks do want to have these conversations about, because I do think that people are recognizing this, and it's not a matter of whether or not people can do two things at once. It's about that they aren't doing the two things at once, because they are not made to do the two things at once. They are not encouraged to do the two things at once. The two things exist at once so that you are encouraged to look over here and not over here. And that's what we're pointing to. Not saying that people can't, it's saying that you're not made to. So I think there's a distinction there that needs to be clarified and made. But then also when we talk about culture, even if we're talking about Walter Rodney's depiction of the use of culture, in terms of revolutionary use, or Amilcar Cabral's, the question of culture as a weapon becomes a question of whose weapon is it? Like, who's wielding the weapon? Because if we are unarmed, then that culture don't belong to us. It's not ours. So yeah, and then I also want to say that I wasn't implying that SZA is a Hindu nationalist, or that SZA is pushing Hindu nationalists. I am saying that she is promoting a very prominent Hindu nationalist with a very prominent anti-Muslim position. So whether or not she's aware of it, she's doing that to her 2.5 million followers across socials, right? Who would just be inspired by SZA's enlightenment. Because there's no discussion about who this man actually is. And that's what I'm saying, that people can just show up somewhere with a person without discussion. Hence the point, Elon Musk. This all hatred for Elon Musk is a brand new thing, okay? This is brand new hatred.
It is.
Because him and Bill Gates and all the rest were supposed to be the example. And I say that to say that these people are set up in positions to be an example. There was a lady, I think she works for the Essence, Essence Ventures or something like that. She was on Morning Joe, and she's a Kenyan immigrant who is now the president of the Essence thing. And the whole story that was pushed was that you can do this too, because what was told to them was that her father, once learning that she was vice president, was saying, "What is this vice? Vice what? What is this vice?" And then her whole story in her memoir that she apparently was on there to talk about is this sort of feel good, if you believe it, you can achieve it kind of story that exists in these people that they are placing there to say that. And so for years, nobody ever talked about Musk or Bill Gates or them actually coming from a foundation of money. No, they were entrepreneurs who sat in the garage and did it all on their own.
Right.
You can do it too.
And then the details about how Amazon was founded and whose money, mommy and daddy's money.
Right.
A lot of mommy and daddy's money. And then it was found out about Elon Musk. He didn't create nothing. He stole that shit.
None of these conversations are happening. And then you have Black podcasters who then go on to propagate that shit as they being inspired by figures like Elon Musk, and that inspired them to be something. And you too, if you just invest right here with us, can be like, this is the mode and method that we are being walked into. So it is not even a matter of are people able to do both. It is that people are limited. So there are no options of both. There is one direction that they are pushing people into. And if there is no clarity about the direction that people are being put into, then they are not going to try to move another direction. Because all this shit is made to be cute. Michelle Obama and them are made to be the aunties, people that we look to, people that we listen to. Keke Palmer and them don't have a podcast just because. What Keke Palmer need a podcast for? For inspiration, so that she can bring more celebrities on to talk about their stories. What is Shannon doing? The same thing. But there's no actual conversations about actual conditions. It is more of the same things that, the class immigrants who come over here, who have watched television and seen the Cosby Show, and because their money over there don't look like the money over here, they in the same hood as you, and they wondering, well, why the hell you don't look like the Cosbys? Not because they have some idea that you're less than, but because they've been given an idea of what you should be. The same way that you look at your people and say, well, why you ain't do it? You should have pulled yourself up. Maybe if you, stop spending your money here, cut spending here.
Stop buying them new Jordans every time they come out.
Language and narratives. And every minute I turn around now, it's like an uptick in diaspora wars. And nobody's asking any questions about why is that existing as we're watching the AES forge sovereignty. As we're watching grassroots movements across Kenya and across Liberia and across Sudan forge, as we're watching Haiti forge. Now is the time for diaspora wars?
Leah asks, why does Jennifer Hudson have a talk show? I've been stuck on that one for a minute. And before I understood the purpose and the importance of celebrity in a pan-European settler colonial project and the need to placate the people with false narratives and drive people to a certain ideological and political conclusion that dictates how they move in society. Yeah, I wondered too, but then I realized, wait, people love J. Hud. People love themselves some J. Hud. They'll listen to her.
People love all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
People love all of these people. And the issue is not even whether or not you like them. That's not the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're made to like them. Honestly. I mean, we could laugh at the Drake and Kendrick shit, but I mean, all that did was just open more. It just exposed more to what the industry actually does and how the industry actually works. And I said that about the Blake Lively trial that's happening now with her lawsuit with the director and co-star of that movie. That is just an extended conversation. But one of the things that's important for me was that what was exposed in those court hearings, or at least in the filings, was that there are poll PR agencies that exist in the comments and in the Reddits to make or break an artist, to make you love them or hate them, to push it this way or that way. So you think that doesn't exist in a state structure?
All those alphabet agencies?
And one of the things they named, even in terms of the Hindu nationalist support for Israel in this time, is that India, that's where all the bot farms, there are a whole lot of bot farms in India. And there were bot farms specifically used to misdirect people around the issues of Gaza. That was coming out of India again. So,
I know this is a very confusing topic for a lot of people. But who is never confused about at least what he's supposed to be doing? The ear doctor. Mm-hmm.
What's good, everybody?
And Eric was like, you know what?
Yeah, that's right. Don't invest in Elon. Invest right here on Black Liberation Media on the Remix Morning Show. How can you do that? You go and share. You go to our Instagram. You go ahead and follow us there. You go ahead and tell somebody, yo, I seen this show. It's called the Remix Morning Show. It's great. You should watch it. That's how you do your investment right there. And you'll get paid in full back. All right. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, ladies. Y'all been bringing it. So go ahead and get your water break in, your Gatorade, whatever you need to do. And we're gonna come back with some more right here. I got a little surprise for y'all. I'm gonna take y'all back with this one. So let's do it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. All All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome out. Welcome out. Once again, like I said, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare. BLKLiberationMedia.org is where you want to go to donate. So go ahead and do that. You know what I'm saying? And we'll make sure that we keep it going right here for you and yours. All right, so what I wanted to do is let y'all know that we are celebrating still 4 years of the Remix Morning Show. So let's go ahead and do a 2 year ago flashback and see what was going on 2 years on the Remix Morning Show. See what they was talking about. Let's check it out.
So now maybe we can convince Ricky to come on too while she's out. No pressure, just saying.
Yeah, lots of pressure. Get on the screen. Ricky ain't shy. Where's the kid? Is the kid is there a child with her? I need to know all the details. What's happening? Ricky, let us know. Let us know. You got babysitting? What's happening? Anyway, we'll find that out. But right now we want to bring up the ear doctor.
Listen, when Ricky Ryan come on, I'm gonna play a Caribbean mix, a soca mix. So that's what she always talking about. If she come
finally get one, she had to go all the way to Nicaragua.
Yeah,
that's soca mix.
Exactly.
Wow. Hold up, she getting special mixes. Wait, hold up now.
Yeah, I ain't too much.
You're just doing too much now. Come on now. We get all amped for a little echo when we show up. Now she getting special mixes.
Yeah, you know what? Let me reel it back. You right about that.
Give her a mix. Don't be. Give her a mix.
Hey, come do BAP little segments to let us know what's going on with BAP. And then we'll talk about it. And look, now we have Women's Wednesday where they talk about it. Look how all this stuff just comes about. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing right here. This is the Remix Morning Show, y'all. So let's get ready to bring forth our hosts with the most as they have some guests coming through right here on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Fix your face, Ricky.
Well, I always love to be reminded of my questionable decision making.
I got you your soca mix. One of these days I did it.
We had that conversation.
How many years what was that? That was somebody asked in the comments, was that pre-surgery? I think it was.
That was by any means necessary studios.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2 years ago.
Good news that all the episodes are we can still find them. So yes, they have not lost into the abyss.
Yes.
Yeah, so y'all could go to the page and go and look under podcasts and pull up a full podcast from the Remix Morning Show, and you can find all that stuff and other podcasts. So you'll never run out of stuff to watch right here on Black Liberation Media. All right, with that said, we got some guests coming through, so let me get up out of here and I'll let y'all do your thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are excited about what is coming up. So let's get to this interview. Let's go. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show, and welcome to our guests. I want to introduce, and I'm so happy to be joined by, along with Erica Keynes, we are also joined by Zizwe Chiguka, member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party. That's right, founded by Kwame Nkrumah. And Zizwe was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, in the U.S., obviously, attended Cleveland Public Schools, joined the All African People's Revolutionary Party as a freshman at the University of Akron, member of the Black United Students Organization at the University of Akron, participated in student conferences at colleges and universities organized the first Black student multi-campus coalition called the Hiram Akram Kent Coalition, spoke at lots of African Liberation Day activities organized by the All-African People's Revolutionary Party from 1983 to present, and has done so much more. And as you can see, we're also joined by Jamila Alexander. Jamila is from Baltimore, Maryland, co-coordinator of the Black Alliance for Peace Baltimore Citywide Alliance, a member of BAP's Haiti Americas team, and works and is a work study member of the All-African People's Revolutionary Party and AAPRP DMV local committee co-coordinator. She's also, as if she doesn't do enough, a volunteer journalist with Activist News Network and a postpartum doula. Jamila Zizwe, thank y'all for coming on today. That's
Thank
appropriate.
you. Thank you. It's my privilege and my honor to be on this show. And I'm a big fan of the show, very big fan, especially Women's Wednesday,
Aww.
because it's one of the few times I can actually watch it live.
Well, thank you.
And yeah, I'm one of many what you call OGPs in the All African People's Revolutionary Party.
What's the P stand for?
Old grumpy Pan-Africanist. You down with OGP? Hey, you know me. You down with OGP? Hey, you know me. Hey, by the way, ear doctor, I want a copy of those mixes that you are that you produced. I gotta have a copy. You did an excellent one this morning. I really loved it. See? And I will concede to our comrade Jamila now after talking all my trash.
See, that's a promo in the middle of the interview.
The promo right in the middle of the. See how they do this? And this hood basement operation. Anyway.
Well, I guess yes. I'm here.
Yes. So, on top of everything that both of you do, you are planning for something that we Pan-Africanists have always held dear, but something that we think we need really to revive in importance, and that is African Liberation Day. So tell us about what's going on this year with African Liberation Day.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you all like just a quick overall. So I'm going to talk about our theme and then like what we were thinking about the purpose of this theme, what we would like to see reflected in the events that we throw for African Liberation Day this year around this theme. So pretty much this year's theme for African Liberation Day is Africa for Africans, revolutionary Pan-Africanist unity across borders in the battle for socialism against imperialism. So this year's theme highlights the call for Pan-Africanist unity as an intricate part of defeating imperialism and ushering in socialism, right? So us inside the All African People's Revolutionary Party and the way that we speak to people about Pan-Africanism, we understand that to be the total liberation and unification of Africa under one scientific socialist government, and how that is essential for the freedom of all African people, no matter if they're born or live on the continent, or if they're born and live in the Western Hemisphere, or if they're born and live in Asia, or different aspects of different parts of Asia. It doesn't matter. Unless Africa is free, none of us are free, right? And so with that understanding, we also really try to share and connect with people that there is no true solution for the conflict going on inside the Congo, or the conflict going on inside of the Sudan, or the conflict going on inside different parts of West Africa, Central Africa, North Africa, South Africa, unless we unite. Like that is the only way, that's the only answer and solution to our worries and the struggles that we face. Africa is on the front line, right, of imperialist crime, but that doesn't mean we're the only continent or the only groups of peoples that are also facing the depravity, right, of the imperialists. We understand that the struggle to unite Africa is also a part of a broader world fight to fight against imperialism. So we connect our struggles to all of the struggles of colonized people. And yeah, so this year's ALD theme, Cizwe is going to go more into the history in a bit, but this year's ALD theme will be commemorated around symposiums, rallies, watch parties, cultural events, community education, different options all around the world, not only here in the Western Hemisphere, but across the continent of Africa and Guinea-Bissau and Burkina Faso, in Algeria and South Africa and Kenya, in different parts of Europe, really wherever you can find an All-African People's Revolutionary Party member, and then sometimes not even a member of the party, but someone who is a member of one of our brother sister organizations or alliances, you will find an African Liberation Day commemoration. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you said this is where it's going to go into the history, because I was going to ask why African Liberation Day. I know Hood Communists has attempted for African Liberation Month. We've seen that as an opportunity to maybe speak to why African Liberation Day would even exist, the sort of importance of Pan-Africanism. But what is the day? Why does it exist? Where does it come from? And how do you understand it developing through the years, then and now?
If I may, first of all, I want to tell you that I'm a member of the All African People's Revolutionary Party and the African Party for Guinea and Cape Verde, the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde. And that the African Liberation Day is an institution that is a result of a long struggle, centuries-long struggle, nation-class gender struggle against global imperialism and capitalism that came as a result of Africans fighting against colonialism and slavery. And eventually that evolved into national liberation movements. After the Fifth Pan-African Congress, which took place in 1945 in Manchester, England, where the leaders of the then Pan-African movement declared that we need to build mass-based revolutionary parties, and our enemies are capitalism and imperialism. See, nothing's wrong with nationalism. We have to qualify. When we talk about nationalism, we have to talk about revolutionary nationalism as opposed to reactionary nationalism. I've been wanting to make this comment for a long time. I hear y'all discussing it and just saying, well, nationalist this, nationalist. We need to qualify, because revolutionary nationalism is what was the basis of the independence movement after the Fifth Pan-African Congress and the independence of Ghana specifically. Kwame Nkrumah, in his Independence Day speech, as you all know, said that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's tied to the independence of the whole of Africa. Immediately that next year, he organized what was called a Conference of Independent African States, April 15th, 1958. There were 8 independent African states at that time. These 8 independent African states declared April 15th as Africa Freedom Day. As a matter of fact, when they declared Africa Freedom Day, you had Omar Wali X, more popularly known as Malcolm X or El Haj Malik El Shabazz, organizing Africa Freedom Day in Harlem, New York. Because, he had access to a lot of the representatives from the different African nation states that were becoming independent. And so he was in line with the whole movement for Pan-Africanism. See? So African Liberation Day is a manifestation of the movement of the mass of African people towards our objective, which we correctly define as total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. So after this Fifth Pan-African Congress, independence of Ghana, the Conference of Independent States, you had 1960 was declared the Year of Africa, in which you had 17 nation states become independent. And so there was this upsurge of nationalism. But then you begin to have a qualification of that nationalism. In the revolutionary nationalists in Africa and the reactionary nationalists. When Kwame Nkrumah called for one unified Africa under a continental government, he didn't say socialist, he just said, let's form a continental government. The reactionary nationalists did not want a continental government. They wanted to move gradually. Julius Nyerere, number one. Haile Selassie, number two, right? The compromise out of that was the Organization of African Unity. It was a compromise, as suggested to him by the great revolutionary George Padmore. So yeah, he agreed to do it in the sake of, to forge African unity. He couldn't get, a continental government at that time, but okay, let's do this African unity thing, Organization of African Unity. So the date was switched from April 15th to May 25th. And the headquarters was established in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. You had these nationalists who were not necessarily revolutionaries. They were part of what was called the Monrovia Group. But you also had the revolutionary nationalists who were called the Casablanca Group. So for the sake of unity, they agreed to form the Organization of African Unity and declare May 25th as African Liberation Day. Since then, there's been a manifestation of African Liberation Day all over the world. One of the biggest ones occurred in Guyana, which is located in South America. In 1970, under Forrest Burnham, where hundreds of thousands of people commemorated African Liberation Day. And then by 1972, it began to be properly manifested in these United States of America, in Washington, D.C., and London, everywhere around the world. So it's a vital institution in which we talk about the onward progress of African people towards the objective that we pronounce Pan-Africanism, the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. So I can go on if you get, how much time do I have?
I want to give you the whole rest of the show to ground us in all of the history because y'all know this my bag. So I'm just sitting here just just being fed by the ancestors, but we don't have that much time. We do have to talk about, but that's okay because I'm gonna call you later on.
Any questions?
We got to talk about the current manifestation of this history that you just gave us, because there was an interesting comment in the chat saying about, wondering what the final nail in the coffin
right.
Pan-Africanism. Jamila, take it, please, because the nail can't be in the coffin for Pan-Africanism if we still run around doing this type of stuff. So.
Yeah. So I don't know who this person is in the chat, so don't take no offense at us like laughing at you. It's just kind of a laughable statement because so I think the problem is a lot of us Africans that grew up in the Western world, grew up in inside these internal colonies, we based our understanding of the world's like political dynamics based off of like how we're treated or like the failures of the movements here in the US, right? And a lot of the times, many people here don't even understand the what happened within the movements of the US. They just are perpetuated to believe certain things. The fight for Pan-Africanism, the fight to unite Africa, the fight of colonized Africans and colonized people against the imperialist colonial elements has never ceased. It has been ongoing since the first European stepped foot on the continent. Africans have been fighting against colonialism. We are not a passive people. We have ongoingly fought, right? Now, there may be stages where people are like, okay, well, you know, the Organization for African Unity, you know, started this way, and now today, you know, is captured by the neo-colonial powers, right? But that's just right now the mass that's in control in the Organization of African Unity. That doesn't mean that the basis of it doesn't belong to the masses of the people and their will, right? So the purpose of that body, right, as these way explained, was a compromise to unite Africa, right? So once Africa unites, this body hopefully will no longer exist. So yeah, just to answer your question, it never stopped. There is no nail in the coffin. Even in moments where you see one government be couped, right? And maybe a revolutionary is taken out of power, in a few countries over, a revolution is still ongoing. So I just wanted to say that for us to not be so defeatist and just understand that, like, we have been fighting, we've always been fighting, we've never been stagnant. And like, just, yeah, so I'll yield there.
Yeah, well, also, if we're talking about Kwame Nkrumah and the Fifth Pan-African Congress, and we're talking about Kwame Nkrumah and the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, the existence of this party supersedes that, you know, it's still ongoing. There is an organized attempt that has existed and continues to exist. And I think also when we talk about the Pan-African movement, I think it's not dissimilar to the way that people talk about revolution, as if there's a start and end point, right? A revolution is ongoing. So even if we are to win our political objective as Pan-Africans, to see the day of a united Africa under scientific socialism, we still have to defend a united Africa under scientific socialism, right? It is not like, oh, we got it, and everybody go home. So that is the struggle that is continuous. The struggle and the movement for Pan-Africanism is a continuous struggle, so long as our political objective remains, even if we are to win it.
If I may, you touched on a very important point. We have to understand it's a difference between an objective and an ideology. Within this Pan-African movement, we have struggles with people who think that Pan-Africanism is an ideology, and we try to clarify the difference. Like you just talked about, once we achieve the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism, we don't stop there. We have to conduct permanent revolution. As a matter of fact, socialism is the transition between capitalism and communism, right? So we're going to continue until we have communism, in which each according to their ability, to each according to their needs, is the slogan under communism, and you don't have classes in existence. Whereas under socialism, you still have classes. So we still got to fight against the anti-people's class under the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. So we still have to defeat those anti-people's classes. And also led to the struggle globally to defeat the anti-people's class all along the way. That's why, you know, Cabral says it exclusively, as well as others, you have to have allies. Because, you know, some people saying, well, why is Ibrahim Traore got the Russians coming into Burkina Faso? See, this is the kind of nationalism that people, we call it narrow nationalism. And I have to, you know, qualify what I said earlier. You got progressive and narrow nationalists who not necessarily don't want to see Africa have allies that are non-African. But this is, like you said earlier, it's a global struggle against imperialism. All the people in the world have to ally themselves, even Europeans who are revolutionaries and progressives. We have to get everybody to destroy the capitalist imperialist system. And the fight against the Zionists is the cutting edge in this whole process. Look at what they're doing now. They call themselves going to move 2 million people out of Palestine. All that is connected to what we're doing in Africa. Because as we all know, they all are joined at the hip. The Zionists provide the weapons in Sudan to do what they're doing. The rapid support forces, Uganda, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what did Trump just announce yesterday? He's trying to work out a way to send people to Libya, Rwanda, and Angola, unfortunately, was mentioned. I was like, what? Not Angola, too. See, so it's a global system that we're fighting, and we have to have allies. And what Nkrumah did was, in 1966, they created what's called the Organization in Solidarity with the Peoples of Africa, Asia, and Latin America, as a complement to the necessity to build the All-African Committee for Political Coordination. This committee is supposed to be the liaison between all the revolutionary Pan-Africanist political parties in Africa to make the true All-African People's Revolutionary Party that we're working on as we speak. See, that's what we're trying to do. So right now we're in embryonic form, but hopefully this whole thing that's happened in West Africa with the Alliance for Sahelian States, what's going on in Namibia with the election of Her Excellency as the president, and all the other activities that's going on as a result of their attempt to overthrow Ibrahim Traore and all the other stuff, will give us some more impetus towards that objective to build the All-African Committee for Political Coordination and eventually the total liberation and unification of Africa. And as Kwame Nkrumah correctly said in Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, armed struggle is the only thing that's going to clear up the fog of neocolonialism. Armed struggle is the only thing that's going to clear up the fog of neocolonialism. So we got to build the All-African People's Revolutionary Party / All-African People's Revolutionary Army so that we can overthrow these reactionary nationalists and build people's armies and mass political parties throughout the length and breadth of Africa.
Right.
That'll be the final nail in the coffin. Thank you very much.
Right. And the step to that, before you, Jackie.
No, you go ahead. Go right ahead.
We can't get there unless we look inside of ourselves and try to change, right, the contradictions that we have as colonized people. We have to learn a whole different world, a different society. And it's not going to be just as simple as you wake up one day, you say that you're a communist. It's just not that simple. It takes years of study and it's an ongoing process. We talked about revolution. It's an ongoing process that never stops. Also, it's the same for the revolutionary. I think we all understand that. So I will yield there.
Well, Kwame Nkrumah, I'm sorry, that great revolutionary Kwame Ture taught us, he says that the struggle exists on 3 levels. Outside the party, inside the party, and inside yourself. And he told us, he says, the most rigorous struggle is inside yourself. That's the most rigorous struggle.
Yeah.
That's why we got to have constant political education, constant mass organization. They are dialectical. They compose a dialectical composite whole that brings about the revolutionary consciousness that we need amongst our people. And right now we need it, especially among the ready forces, the youth and the women, the intelligentsia. You see the youth are rising up in Africa. The women are rising up in Africa. We have to organize these intelligentsia into a fighting force that's going to eventually go out and organize the masses. We got all these examples in history of what happened in Cuba, China. First thing they did when they got their little forces together, what did they do? They went to the countryside to teach the people how to read, write, etc. Africa was 90% peasantry, right? So we have to get enough serious cadre on the ground in Africa that's ready to make that commitment to go and organize the masses of people in the length and breadth of Africa. And this is a serious process that takes dedication, commitment, ideological training, to achieve a certain level of revolutionary consciousness amongst the revolutionary intelligentsia. The students are the spark. The youth are the spark of the revolution, but they cannot complete the whole process. We got to get all the other folks involved in the process, as many as possible in this process. And African Liberation Day is a reflection, is an institution that in which we talk about the onward progress in this whole endeavor.
Yes. I appreciate that. Even I remember our dear brother and comrade Rafiki, he talks about students in terms of being the tip of the spear, but understanding what a spear is. There's a tip and there is a body, right?
Exactly.
And there's a moving force to that tip. So whatever students are punctuating, it should be because we are the moving force behind the students. So we are standing behind the students and with the students. So I do think that that's really important to know. There were some other things that you noted that I do think speaks to, I think, the importance of the continuous work that BAP does alongside the party, like African Liberation Day. Around the country, if you're looking at any of the social medias, you will see there's a plethora of events that involve both a Black citywide alliance or region and an area where they have the party. Like we're doing a symposium on May 23rd at Payne Memorial AME Church in Baltimore. That is with the Mid-Atlantic, and that is also with the AAPRP DMV members. So I think these kind of conversations are really important, especially when we talk about a party and the masses, right? The Black Alliance of Peace is a mass organization. But what does it mean to have a party structure that's involved with this mass organization that could give some ideological direction or assist in giving that kind of component? Because when we talk about, I think it's really important that you name a few things, the objective versus an ideology, because I do think there's a lot of mass confusion around that, even understanding what it is to have a political objective. There is a lot of confusion around that. But then also to your point about nationalism, I think this also speaks to a kind of misunderstanding about dialectics and how things work dialectically, because there are two sides to a thing. You will have a revolutionary and a revolutionary and a reactionary component to all things, I believe. So when we talked about Hindu nationalism, that was a qualifier to say that it is distinct from the understanding. It is its own political objective and political ideology. It is not the same as what we think it is. So I do appreciate you raising these particular points and bringing some clarity to why we would even be engaging in African Liberation Day to this day, when people are under the impression that, you know, the Pan-African movement has had a nail in a coffin.
So Jamila, where can people get connected if they are not in Baltimore? Because, you know, people watching right now are all over the country. Hopefully there are a couple people in different countries who are watching. If people are not in Baltimore and they cannot physically get to Payne Memorial AME church at 1714 Madison Avenue in Baltimore, Maryland, from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. on May 25th for the ALD Symposium, where can they find more information to get plugged in to ALD events wherever they are?
Yeah, so you all can go to AfricanLiberationDay.net. This is the events page. This is some, not all, because again, there are so many African Liberation Day celebrations, depending on where you live. You may find one closer to you, but these are some of the African Liberation Day events that we have around the world. Right now, you see a lot of events in the US and also in Canada, inside of our Western Hemisphere. But as I stated before, there's a lot of events on the continent, but most of that stuff is like, if you're local to the area that you're in, you're going to be going to those celebrations. You'll be networked to go to those events. But yeah, like I said, and they're all different days. So some of them are on May 23rd, and I think the latest one is on the 31st. Some of them are in the same state. So like, for example, in Florida, if you live closer to Tampa and Orlando, you can go to Tampa. Maybe that date doesn't work for you. You can go to the one in Orlando. So there's a lot of different options. And the most important one is if you live in the middle of nowhere, you can't get to any African Liberation Day commemoration. That's okay, because we have a webinar that you all are more than welcome to attend. We would love to see you there. We're going to have speakers from all around the world, all different parts of the African world, but also some of our other colonized comrades that also are fighting for Pan-African unity, because as we mentioned before, this is not just an issue for Africa. This is an issue for the world. Imperialism will die in Africa. So the closer we destroy it inside of the continent, unite Africa, the easier it will be for all of us around the world. And before I get off, I just wanted to say there's some people freaking out in the chat. I just would encourage you all to read some more. Please, I'm actually begging you, please read some more, and don't read alone. Read something, maybe send it to a comrade or a friend or someone that you organize with, and then talk with them about what you read and ask them what they think, so y'all can comprehend and figure it out with each other. Yeah.
They can ask questions. They can contact us. Yeah, they can go to our website.
You can, but please read. Our
website is www.aaprp-intl.org. Any questions? We, struggle. In fact, what Kwame Nkrumah says, out of tension, being is born. We got to talk with the people who we disagree with the most, in order to make progress. And you talk, we emphasize the ready forces. We got to have discussions, and anybody who's willing to discuss objectively without being antagonistic, but we invite all questions. We ain't afraid of the masses. Whatever you got to say, I just said it, aaprp-intl.org. Oh, by the way, Ricky, I've been trying to donate to the learning through liberation through reading. And I have a problem navigating through PayPal.
Okay.
They support Zionism.
Well, at this point, it would be hard pressed unless you're
make a donation.
For me.
I will. No problem.
All right, no, we could talk about it.
No problem.
I appreciate that.
But struggle is the spice of life that molds the perfect people. The more you struggle, the stronger you get. We'll say it every day, anytime. If we all agree with each other, we would be perfect, right? No such animal.
No such animal. See, this is why we appreciate the people in organizations, not just the formation of the AAPRP and the history of that formation and the history in that form. We're literally sitting on this screen talking to a part of that history. We organize with this history every day. There's not a whole lot you can tell us about this Pan-African struggle, not because we know everything, but because we organize with a cadre of people who are literally walking around as that history. Come on now, you cannot beat this. You cannot beat this kind of information, this kind of knowledge, this intergenerational struggle. This is a beautiful thing where we've literally got the OGs in the struggle who are the reason we are in this struggle. We saw people like Rafiki and Zizwe and Ajamu and Margaret and Jaribu. We saw them doing this work and saw that it still needed to be done. And we came up after them. And we're offering this invitation to you to be in the same kind of environment, in the same kind of relationship, in struggle, to reach this goal that we have been just absolutely, I'm just going to use the word, blessed by. So yes. Thank you all.
The Chinese have a saying, no investigation, no right to speak.
Ooh, I've been trying not to throw that at people, because it come out wrong when I say it, because I put extra words in between what Chairman said. that are not nice, and you know,
Yeah.
that's always, yeah.
Right, because most people, well, not most, but some people will say things and they haven't been involved, like you correctly said, in any kind of organization or the movement. You have to be scientific about this process. We're scientists. We're revolutionaries. I'm a student of revolution. After all this time, I'm still a student of revolution. You have to study revolutionary theory and engage in revolutionary practice in order to properly understand what's been going on or what's going on currently. Those of us who have not done that, we encourage you to get involved in that process, and then you will understand better the things we have been saying. And I know that you all have been saying, because I watch your show every week, you know, on this platform, and we greatly appreciate you, especially Women's Wednesday, my favorite show.
You added extra pressures this way.
Yes,
Just
ma'am.
a little bit, just a little bit. I gotta cuss a lot less. I ain't gonna have Rafiki tell me now.
Now that's something I got some constructive criticism.
See.
I know.
Now it's time to go. We're out of time now.
My daughter be listening, right? Children be listening. And revolutionaries have to have the highest moral and ethics.
Yes,
I know.
you're right. Yep.
Everybody.
You're right. You're right. See,
right.
What I told you, what I did, we're not lying when we tell you that we are all accountable to each other in this thing. Ain't no rogue elements in this joint. And when you get pulled up by an OG, all you can do is sit there and say, "Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Bob."
Down with OGP. Hey, you know me. Down with OGP. And we gotta have humor. See, that's another thing. Malcolm X talked about that all the time. You gotta have humor. You know, you gotta keep your morale high. This is what Cabral talks about. How do we keep our morale high? Songs, culture. Now, one more thing. You talked about ideology and culture and religion. Nkrumah says ideology is total. In any society, there's a dominant ideology. What that means is the ideology guides all the institutions in the society, all the cultural institutions, religion, music, art. That's why, as Ricky was talking about these shows, everything is a reflection of the capitalist imperialist ideology.
Everything.
And Ture talks about the fact that culture is the container of ideology. And at the same time, ideology is the container of culture. See, so we're fighting with our ideology against the dominant ideology. But guess what? Ours is based on truth and it's more scientific. And it's the only weapon of the oppressed is our ideology and our organization. They got all the guns, bombs, they got all that. But guess what? Our ideology is more powerful and our organization is more powerful than what they got. That's why we know the Palestinians are going to be free, because we got allies who are helping them. The Yemeni people, shout out to them for what they're doing. They're the only ones standing up in the so-called Middle East to this beast, and they kicking they behind. And they kicking they behind. The resiliency of the resistance forces in Yemen, the resiliency of the Palestinian resistance forces is something to behold, without a doubt. And then, of course, our comrade Ibrahim Traore and the Alliance for Sahelian States. And then there's several.
I think he got cut off a little bit.
Nicaragua.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
So we have to work together in solidarity on you know what, Cuba was the best example of revolutionary international solidarity when they sent all them troops to what is called Namibia to liberate our people. Great example, you know? And then people try to tell you stuff about we ain't got no business in the Palestinian struggle. They don't know. We have to have undying love for our people. We have to do everything in love in terms of trying to get them to go in the right direction and understand things critically. And if they don't want to hear it, then okay, we talk to the folks who of the Ready Forces.
Yes.
Thank you so much for letting me talk and ramble. You know, I'm an OGP.
That's okay. I'm gonna bring
What
you
can I
back
say?
on my show so you can ramble as long as you want. There you go.
Sure.
That's what's gonna happen. But what has to happen right now, though, thank you, Jamila. Thank you, Zizwe, so much for coming on and
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about
Thank you.
ALB. But what has to happen right now, who again is never unclear about what
Yes.
his purpose is an ear doctor.
Thank you.
Hey, good for y'all. Thank y'all for coming through. My favorite Jamila, my favorite Zizwe. We in the building. You know what I mean? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna come back with some more. Thank you for all your contribution and your support and what you do for these organizations. With that said,
you just don't read, beloved.
And we up out of here.
Mr. Dinkins, would you please be my mayor? Mr. Dinkins, would you please be my mayor? Mr. Dinkins, would you please be my mayor? Mr. Dinkins, would you please be my mayor?
Hey, what's good, everybody? Oh, yes. Welcome out. Welcome out. So we take a quick break right here. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare, and donate. You want to help these organizations and help this channel go where it needs to go? blkliberationmedia.org is where you could do that at for one of your donations. And don't forget about BAP. Don't forget about CMB. And don't forget about, investing in yourself. With that said, let's go ahead and give a little spotlight on a certain person. And who was I just talking about, or who was I just scratching about? We're talking about David Dinkins. Yes, one of my homeboys. That's right, straight out of Trenton, New Jersey. Yes. My pop's homeboy. Actually, he was the mayor, the 106th mayor of New York City from 1990 to 93, and he got his cum laude from Howard University, and then went to Brooklyn Law School. He's part of the Democrats. He came in 1989 in the New York City mayoral election and became the first African American to hold the office. And after that, he's been since like 1994. He's been teaching at Columbia University. He's done a number of things actually, but I just tell you a couple of things, and then you can go and do your research. He's been a part of various things. When he first got on, he was talking about how these cops is corrupt. So he came and was like, got a lot of beef with the cops because he was like, yo, y'all is corrupt. We got to get this thing right. So he was known for that. He was also known for being part of the U.S. National Tennis Center when he was working with them. He was also part of, a bunch of things. Actually, I just can't see him or read them right now. But he did a lot of things. So big up to no other than David Dinkins. Yes, he passed at the age of 93 at his house. And that said, let's get back to the Remix Morning Crew. You know how we do. Yeah. That wasn't the best. It wasn't the best.
I want to get in there.
Yeah. I give him a little bit, and they go do the rest of the research. He's part of various movements.
That's one way to put it. Okay. I mean, we do encourage people to read for themselves. So yes, please read. Excuse me, all of the history.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And investigate.
Yeah. Don't just take it from me.
Yeah, because we do say Mal did say Mal did say no investigation, no right to speak.
There you go. I just introduce it. That's all. Y'all can have y'all discussions if he's good, if he's bad. It's up to y'all, So
And it's true that you do that. You do that. You just throw it out there. You just throw it out there in the middle of a pool of piranhas. And
because
just stand back.
like the brother said, this is a lab. We testing to see if different people's theories
That's
are
not what he
right, their
said
ways.
at all.
Huh?
That's not at all what he said. He didn't use the word lab.
He did.
No,
So
he
you
said this
wasn't
was
listening.
science. He said it was science. He said this is a scientific process.
Yeah, exactly. So you do it in a laboratory.
No.
With that said, this is
No.
the laboratory, and this is where we come up with theories and ways of people doing certain things right or wrong and try to figure it out. So I'm gonna put my spice into it and say, yes, this is a laboratory. No problem.
No.
I know y'all like to disagree with me. I'm used to it.
Sure. Because
all right, so
you think it's so easy. Yeah, so the thing with Dinkins is one of my fondest memories is my dad loved Mayor Dinkins. We were down in Bowling Green when he won, and we went to go. It was like thousands of people out there, so I was on my dad's shoulders. So that's my recollection as a child in the 90s of Mayor Dinkins. So what Kamal laid out yesterday, in fact, on this show about Mayor Dinkins was a lot of what I did not know, but also tracks. It tracks. Because I do think there is a way to, I'm thinking about Kwame Ture's quote about the way that we had, Black mayors all over the US, right? And nothing has significantly changed in terms of political power. And I think, in hindsight, Dinkins played that role, that he was just a face there. So I think even understanding what a Black misleadership class is today includes understanding how it was formed out in that era.
Yeah, and we have to. I always think of like Black mayors and the political power that wasn't, that has not materialized for Black people through having Black mayors, and Black city councils or whatever. I always think about the transition of the Congressional Black Caucus and its founding by some people who were a lot more radical. They may not have been socialists, all of them, but they were a lot more radical in their approach to politics than what exists today. Like the people who founded the Congressional Black Caucus, I'm just like, would they ever have done the things that these folks? Now, a couple of folks had been on long enough to see where we saw their turn from their radical roots or more radical roots. I shouldn't say radical. I'll call them progressive because there were some folks who were never radical from the beginning. And it was easy for them to go from being a little bit progressive, at least more progressive than the Democrats at the time, to once Bill Clinton came along, becoming fully in support of the Democrat neoliberal third way ideology that intentionally abandoned implementing policies for the masses of the working class and poor. So when I think of folks like Dinkins, it's like, yeah, it's almost like what we talked about at the beginning of the show. Like, you don't really like SpaghettiOs once you've had them when you're an adult, because you realize, okay, they really were nasty. But it is the nostalgia. It's the nostalgia of remembering, wow, that was the first Black mayor of New York. And that's what you remember.
And arguably, even still, probably still the best mayor of New York, arguably. You think about what came after him and what existed before him, which I think made room for him to exist and created that vacuum of what is seemingly progressive. Because he's Black and not a conservative. And I think that's just a marker. That's all it takes. Are you Black? Yes. Are you a conservative?
Are you a conservative? No. Okay.
Right.
Well,
and then
we don't ask the.
Yeah, and then you're a woman, and then it's just innately Black woman, you know.
Right.
Not
Oh, she must. Yes,
conservative
this
on
must be good.
paper.
Right. And for the silliest arguments when it comes to, you know, women too, it's like, well, because look at what being led by men has led to. Do you not understand that the British Empire became an empire because it was run by a damn woman for a long time? Like, are you nuts?
Yeah.
And men just take orders, especially for women.
Oh,
Nice try. He really
yeah,
tried. He really tried.
It's true.
Real quick,
Yeah,
before
because before her was her daddy. So, you know, she was there for a while.
We're led astray by women from the garden to now.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, no, we're not even. So, real quick before we get out of here, I do want to raise up the statement that the Black Alliance for Peace has put out about the attacks on the Alliance for the Sahel's Alliance of the Sahel States. In our recent statement, which was published on May 5th, where we say now is the time for all anti-imperialists and all justice-loving people to stand unequivocally in defense of Burkina Faso. And this is a picture from last year, where we did this is the Mid-Atlantic region and a couple of our member organizations and our coalition members that did a walking tour of the embassies in the Sahel states in appreciation for them and their work. So that's what this picture is from last year. When we literally just walked around to these 3 embassies, read statements of support for them, and they were really appreciative of it. But the U.S. Out of Africa Network, which is a part of the Africa team of the Black Alliance for Peace, has released this statement saying that it's no surprise to us, the BAP Africa team and the U.S. Out of Africa Network, that aggression is stepping up against the countries in the anti-imperialist alliance of Sahel states. This was reflected in the flagrantly baseless accusations against Burkina Faso's leader, Ibrahim Traoré, on April 3rd, 2025. U.S. AFRICOON Commander Michael Langley testified to the Senate Armed Services Committee and claimed without evidence that interim President Traoré is misusing the country's gold mineral wealth in exchange for protection. Langley provided no details on how these supposed exchanges are carried out or from what Traoré needs protection. The imperialist modus operandi is at play here and starts with demonizing and criminalizing the leader of a country as the war propaganda pretext for more direct intervention. We've seen this script before. Commander-in-Chief of Economic Fighters, League of Ghana, and steering committee member of the U.S. OAN, the U.S. Out of Africa Network, Ernesto Yeboah, refutes the liberal framing meant to arrest dissent against what is at stake. He says this is not about military versus civilian rule. This is about imperialism versus liberation. This is about Africans standing up finally and saying, hands off Africa. I'm putting the link to the statement in the chat for y'all to read it and share. Read.
Well, yes, please read. And fend off this ridiculousness of bookism that is being perpetrated in the chat. Listen, I just want to just know
of who and what.
Yeah, well, because there is, yes, dogmatism is a thing, but so is these illiteracy rates that are exuberant in this country, right? And the idea of telling people to read is not to guide them or walk them into anything, because I'm not saying read this book and then become a Marxist or read this book and then become a communist. But I am saying read the book so you can have a basic understanding of the things that communists and socialists are talking about, so that you can engage that conversation, so you can ask questions and say, well, you know, what I've seen, is that the case? You know, because people are not really engaging work. And I think we talked about you know, the religion against imperialism, that people, it's not different than people quoting the Bible or making issues with the Bible and having never read it in full. You know, criticism, the idea of no investigation, no right to speak is to levy good faith criticism, to have a good faith struggle, because struggle is going to happen. Just because you read something that Mao says doesn't mean you have to necessarily agree with it because Mao said it. But you have to know what the hell Mao said if you agree with it. If you disagree with it. And that's the whole premise of reading and encouraging folks to read. Because if it is that you are going to hold such a strong opinion, you should at least know what was said that you have an opinion about.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're just talking. And we have enough yappers.
I know that's right.
Well, real quick, I promise, real quick.
Yeah,
a really good example for why what you're saying makes sense, Ricky, because just last week you cleared up the confusion about a quote that people repeat all the time about religion, but because they have never read the entire quote, they quote it out of context. And that is the religion is the opiate of the masses quote. People use that as an insult, and that is not the entire quote. And that's not what is meant by that section of the quote. And the reason you don't know that you are getting that wrong is because you don't read. You don't read.
You just don't read, beloved.
And
on that note, we are going to get up out of here. Thank y'all for tuning in once again to the Remix Morning Show. We'll be back here tomorrow at 8 a.m. for some more. Big up to all and everyone that came through for the interviews today. And we out of here. Any last words? No? Good. All right, we out of here.
He's like,
Peace out, y'all.
Y'all tried my patience all day.
So nasty. So rude.
I am. Rude boy. We out.